Hey everyone, it's the Diplomat, and we are on part 23 of the Chris Watts Discovery read-through. We start here on page 466. It looks like 465 was left out. We last talked about the Jeremy Jennifer interviews, and now we will get into search of the home. This occurred on August 15th. The lead officer here is Matthew Saylor of the Denver CBI, and we have the following other officers: Dave Yoakum, crime scene agent, CBI Denver; Dave Balmover, detective of Frederick PD; Steve Walsh of the Frederick PD; and Tori Smith of the FBI. Action taken. On August 15th at approximately 6 a.m., CBI agent Matthew Saylor responded to 2825 Saratoga to conduct a search of the residence. Consent had been granted by the homeowner, Chris Watts, the previous evening during a videotaped interview. Additionally, Watts gave consent to any and all testing and collection of evidence that was deemed necessary, specifically the use of alternate light sources for the detection of the presence of blood evidence. Upon arrival, I met with CBI crime scene analyst Dave Yoakum, Frederick PD, Detective Dave Balmover, and FPD officer Steve Walsh. Detective Balmover contacted Watts by phone to obtain the code for the lock on the front door, allowing us access to the residence. Upon entering the residence, we located a dachshund in a small kennel in the area near the garage pedestrian door, and placed the animal outside in the enclosed backyard. CSA Yoakum took overall photographs of the residence, and we then began our search. I noted that the residence was very neat and orderly. The items in the kitchen cupboard were organized and labeled. The items in the basement were all organized and packaged, many in plastic totes. I noticed that the clothing in the closets were neat and orderly, arranged by clothing type and color. The only exception was the office and its adjoining closet, which had clutter on the desk and items strewn on the floor. The office and closet were in contrast to the remainder of the house. I noted that all of the beds had been made, and I was advised that on previous consent searches of the residence the kids' beds were unmade and the master bedroom was stripped of its bedding. CSA Yoakum conducted blue star testing of the bathrooms, stairs, entryway to the garage, and bedrooms, and no presumptive blood was located. During the search, I was advised that the FBI Special Agent Tori Smith was responding to the residence to assist in downloading the contents of the router in the residence. Special Agent Smith arrived and connected to the router with his laptop. Special Agent Smith took screenshots documenting his connection to the router and the router settings. It should be noted that the router time was set to GMT 8 o'clock Pacific Time, Tijuana, so there is a 2-hour discrepancy with local time. Special Agent Smith downloaded the router log and provided me with copies of all screenshots in the log which are attached to this report. The router was collected as evidence. See Agent Smith's report for additional details. During the search of the residence, it was noted that the trash cans throughout the residence, such as those in the bathrooms and bedrooms, had been emptied. The trash bags from those trash cans were located in the kitchen trash can. Underneath those trash bags, we located a bedsheet and 3 pillowcases. The bedsheet and 1 pillowcase had an unknown dark substance that appeared to be smeared on them. The bedsheet and pillowcases were photographed and collected as evidence. I located an Apple Watch on the nightstand of the master bedroom that was later determined to belong to Chris. I also located an Apple MacBook Pro on the desk in the office. Watts was again contacted by phone, and he gave consent to seize any electronic devices located in the residence. These were collected as evidence. An Apple Watch determined to belong to Shanann Watts was located on a couch in the upstairs loft area underneath the throw pillows. This watch was collected as evidence. An Apple iPad was found in a backpack underneath the desk in the office, which was also collected as evidence. An Amazon Echo smart home device was located on the kitchen counter and was collected as evidence. In searching the garage, I located a cardboard shipping box from Amazon inside of the trash dumpster. Inside the box, I found a marriage improvement book that appeared to be brand new. I had earlier received information that Shanann Watts had sent a marriage improvement book to her husband, Chris Watts. The book was photographed and collected as evidence. All items of evidence were photographed by Yoakum and packaged and collected by Officer Walsh. See the reports for additional information. Prior to exiting the residence, we let the dog back inside but were unable to secure him back in his kennel. We secured the residence and left. End of report. Attachments, screenshots from FBI Agent Smith and the router log. So next on page 469 is a CBI document describing an interview with Nicole Atkinson, and it just has a synopsis of the business trip and dropping her off after the flight home. And then there's just some additional information on her bio, and then suspect listed as Chris Watts on the following page, 471. And then 472 actually is missing from the discovery. So not sure if that was the actual report there, but unfortunately it is removed from the discovery page. So we go on to 473, which is a CBI document describing a second interview with Troy by Greg Zentner. On Tuesday, August 14th, CBI agent Greg Zentner received a request from FPD to assist with a missing persons case. On Friday, August 17th, I re-interviewed Troy at the Anadarko Petroleum headquarters located in Platteville. The purpose of this second interview was to clarify some timeline questions and to inquire about Troy returning to Survey 319 on Tuesday, August 14th at about 2:12 p.m. Action taken. On Friday, August 17th, I contacted Troy and asked him if he'd be willing to speak to us again about his relationship with Chris and any other information he had about this case. Troy agreed to meet with us and voluntarily came to the Anadarko headquarters in Platteville. An initial interview was conducted with Troy on August 15th, but new information had been discovered and a second interview was needed. S.A. Jones agreed to complete the report for the first interview. This interview with Troy was recorded. The following is a summary of the interview. For a complete account of the interview, please review the attached audio file. Troy told us the following. Troy said he saw Watts on Friday, August 10th. Troy said Watts told him that Watts took Friday off of work to take his wife Shanann to the airport for her business trip to Arizona. Troy said he met Watts in the Safeway parking lot in Fort Lupton at about 3:05 p.m. to receive Watts's Amazon Fire Stick for his television. Troy said Watts showed up driving Shanann's white Lexus. Troy said he was able to see Bella and Celeste in the back seat of the SUV. Troy said he could see both children were buckled into their car seats. Troy said he waved to Bella and Celeste and he could hear them laughing. Troy said he knows Bella and Celeste from past contacts with the Watts family. Troy said as he was talking to Watts in the Safeway parking lot, Troy received a phone call from Cody. Cody told Troy there was a leak in the bypass line on the oil well at Survey 319. Troy said this leak was small enough that it could wait until Monday to be fixed. Troy said Watts overheard part of his conversation with Cody, and Watts volunteered to go out to Survey 319 first thing on Monday, August 13th, to fix the leak. Troy said he did not think this was unusual for Watts to volunteer to go out and fix the bypass line. Troy said he did not see or have any contact with Watts again until Monday, at about mid-morning at the Survey 319 site. Troy said he thought that Watts called Cody on Sunday, August 12th, and told Cody he would go to Survey 319 first thing Monday to fix the leak. Troy said on Monday, August 13th, he left his house to go to work a little after 6 a.m. Troy said he drove to the Anadarko offices located in Platteville, Colorado, as is his normal routine. Troy thought he arrived at the office at about 6:45 a.m. Troy said he had received a phone call from Watts at 6:43 a.m., but Troy said he declined the call. In parentheses, according to the Geotab GPS information provided by Anadarko, Troy left his residence in Greeley at 6:04 a.m. and arrived at the Anadarko offices in Platteville at 6:27 a.m. Troy said after he arrived at work, he met with most of his team members in the break room on the north end of the building. Troy said he also met with Luke and maybe Chad to coordinate the day. Troy said he then got a burrito from the mobile vendor at about 7:30 a.m. Troy said he thought he left the Anadarko office at about 7:45 a.m. and drove to the Survey 319 oil well. Troy said he received a phone call from Watts just after he left the office. He said he stopped his vehicle and took this phone call from Watts. Troy said Watts was at the Survey 319 and was testing the bypass line, which was leaking. Troy thought this phone call lasted about 2 minutes before he disconnected and continued driving. Troy thought he arrived at Survey 319 at about 8:40 a.m. According to the Geotab information, Troy left the Anadarko office in Platteville at 7:44 a.m. and drove to Survey 319, arriving at 8:51 a.m. Troy said when he arrived at Survey 319, there were several Anadarko employees already there. Troy said he saw Watts, Chad, and Melissa. Troy said Watts' vehicle was parked by the wellhead, which Troy thought was strange. Troy said where Watts' vehicle was parked, it was not a normal place for someone to park their vehicle. Furthermore, Troy said if Watts was going to fix the bypass line, why did he park his vehicle so far from the area that needed to be fixed, which was near the tanks, not near the wellhead? Troy drew a box on the aerial photo of the survey where Watts parked his vehicle. Troy continued and said Watts is usually, in quotes, a fairly decently dressed man, end quote, and said Watts usually has on tight-fitting, fire-resistant clothing. But on Monday, Watts had on a dark blue shirt that was quote-unquote baggy and looked like it was an older FR shirt, fire-resistant. Troy also said Watts had on a pair of pull-on boots, which Troy thought was strange because he knew Watts had a newer pair of Red Wing boots that he was wearing recently. Troy also commented that Watts normally wore boots that had laces. Troy said he even noticed that one of Watts' pant legs was tucked inside the top of his boot and the other pant leg was straight. Troy said he commented to Watts, in quotes, "What, are you slumming it today?" Troy said Watts laughed at his comment. Troy said he didn't notice anything else unusual about Watts and said Watts appeared to have his normal demeanor. Troy said after they determined they could not fix the bypass line, they all decided to move on to the Survey 1029. Troy said he was watching Watts as Watts approached his vehicle, which was still parked by the wellhead. Troy said he saw Watts pause for a moment and saw Watts was looking out into the field to the south of the pad for just a moment. Troy said he wasn't sure what Watts was looking at. According to the GPS information provided by Anadarko, Watts left Survey 319 at 9:30 a.m. and Troy left at 9:31. Melissa and Chad also left the site and went to Survey 1029 at about the same time. Troy said they all stayed at Survey 1029 for the rest of the morning. Watts' GPS showed he was at Survey 1029 from 9:39 a.m. until 12:57 p.m. when he left. Troy stayed at Survey 1029 until 1:59 p.m. when he left and drove to Hudson, Colorado. Troy said when they were all at Survey 1029, Watts started getting numerous phone calls from a neighbor who was at Watts' house looking for Shanann Watts. Troy said he heard Watts talking to his neighbor, and the neighbor had been trying to get a hold of Shanann all morning and could not find her. Troy said he also heard Watts say that Shanann had missed a doctor appointment earlier in the day. Troy said Watts said he was getting worried about Shanann because no one knew where she was. Troy said eventually Watts said he was going to leave and go home, see if he could figure out what happened to Shanann. Troy then commented that Watts needed to defecate and pulled his pickup to the south side of the holding tanks on Survey 1029. Troy said he didn't initially think this was unusual, but after all of the media attention this case has received, he got to thinking that Watts may have buried some evidence by the tanks when he claimed he had to defecate. Troy said he ended his day on Monday at about 4 p.m. after all of his employees had cleared from the field. Troy said he did have some short text messages with Watts on Monday evening, but he did not speak with Watts. Troy said he was asking about Shanann, and Watts' responses were very short. Troy said on Tuesday, August 14th, he started his day like most others by leaving his house early in the morning and driving to the Anadarko office. Troy said he met with his team and made plans for the day. Troy said he learned from Luke that Watts would not be at work on Tuesday. Troy said he got a burrito from the mobile vendor and then went out to another oil site to assist one of his guys at the site. Troy said this site was at about County Road 22 and County Road 31, approximately 7 miles from the Anadarko office. Troy said after he left this site, he went to a training located near the intersection of County Road 47 and County Road 4, which is south and east of Hudson. Troy said this site is about 25 miles from the Anadarko office. Troy said this site is an oil pad which uses pneumatic processes, and this was part of the training. Troy said he was at the training until about 1 p.m. Troy said he left the training site and decided to drive back to Survey 319. Troy said he wanted to go back to Survey 319 because he had been thinking about Watts and the reports he had been seeing on the news about Shanann, Bella, and Celeste still missing. Troy said he wanted to check the Survey 319 to, in quotes, see if I could see anything out of the norm. I asked Troy to expand on what he was thinking, and he said it was a combination of things that was making him suspicious. Troy said the fact that Watts had parked in a strange spot by the wellhead, Watts was wearing unusual clothing, Watts was more quiet than usual on Monday, and at 11 a.m. Shanann and the kids went missing, and then Watts was short with Troy during the text messages from the night before. Troy said that taking all of these things into consideration started making him suspicious. Troy commented further about Shanann not taking her phone and car keys, and he thought that was odd as well. Troy said he even spoke with his wife about the strangeness of the circumstances on Monday night. Troy said when he arrived at Survey 319 on Tuesday afternoon, the gate was open and there was a water truck on the pad from the Northern Plains Trucking. Troy said he parked his truck by the wellhead near the same location Watts had parked on Monday. Troy said just as he was getting out of his truck, the driver of the water truck approached him and asked Troy to sign his JSA, as is a required procedure. That's job site analysis. Troy said he told the driver of the water truck that he was there to look for a crescent wrench he may have dropped in the area. Troy said he told this to the driver of the water truck because he didn't want to tell him he was there to possibly look for evidence of a missing person. Troy said he didn't stay at Survey 319 for very long before he left. Troy estimated he was there for about 5 to 10 minutes. Troy said he has known Watts for about 2.5 years and he didn't want to think that his friend could have done something to Shanann and the two girls. Troy said he didn't want to believe something bad had happened to Watts' wife and daughters. Troy said this was why he didn't mention this information in his first interview with agents. Troy said he was hopeful he would find something at Survey 319 that he could give to the authorities to help find Shanann and the girls. Nothing further. Then we have a number of attachments, audio file with Troy, combined advanced detailed trip spreadsheet from Anadarko. So that's a bunch of GPS tracking information, map of Survey, printout of the aerial photo with the markings from Troy, and the job site analysis form. Okay, next we get into CBI report on the search of Anadarko well, site Survey 319, and it is the recovery of Shanann Watts' body. This occurrence was on August 15th to August 16th. I believe it was may have been overnight. The main officer is Matthew Saylor with backup Greg Zentner. Then down here we have a couple of witnesses, Binion and Luke and Joey. And that Joey's from the coroner office. Officers are Bryce Borders, Commander, Firestone Police, William DeWitt, Firestone Police, Detective, Dave Yoakum, CBI, Caitlin Schroeder, CBI, Kirby Quinn, CBI, Philip Jones and Mark Lehrer from the FBI, Dave Balmover from Frederick PD, and Scott Coonrod from Frederick PD. Action taken. On August 15th, I, Matthew Saylor, and Agent Greg Zentner responded to Anadarko well site Survey 319 near Rogan, Colorado to conduct a search. We met with Anadarko employee Luke at the Love's truck stop in Hudson and followed him out to the well site, which is located on the Survey Ranch in north of Rogan, Colorado. Firestone Police Department Commander Bryce Borders and Detective William DeWitt also met us at the Love's truck stop and responded to the well site. The Survey Ranch is a cattle ranch in rural Weld County with numerous oil and gas wells leased to Anadarko Petroleum and other companies. Well site Survey 319 is located at GPS coordinates 40.2 and negative 104.3 and is located west of Weld County Road 386. The well site is accessed via several dirt roads and is in a remote area with rolling hills, sagebrush, cactus, and other vegetation. The well site is fenced with barbed wire and contains a wellhead, a separator, and 3 storage tanks on a gravel pad. All of the land contained within the fence is leased by Anadarko Petroleum from the Survey Ranch. Luke explained that the oil and gas and some water are pumped through the separator into 2 holding tanks while the gas is pipelined to another location. The water and oil mixture are held in the 2 holding tanks, each with a capacity of 400 barrels, and the water and oil separate. The water is then fed into the smaller open-top holding tanks next to the oil tanks. Upon arrival at the well site, Commander Borders and Detective DeWitt deployed an unmanned aerial system drone to survey the well site at approximately 3:27 p.m. The drone was equipped with a camera that provided a real-time video feed as well as the capability of taking digital video and still photographs. In the brush to the south of the pad, Detective DeWitt and Commander Borders located what appeared to be a sheet lying on the ground. They took a still photograph of the sheet, and upon inspection it appeared that it was possible that there were unknown objects underneath the sheet. Detective DeWitt and I approached the sheet from the north, just inside of the brush, just south of the edge of the gravel pad. We encountered an area of bare dirt that appeared to have been recently disturbed. Detective DeWitt and I then backed out of the brush and returned back to the pad. Binion, owner of Survey Ranch, was contacted by phone at approximately 4:17 p.m. and provided consent to search the property and collect evidence. Commander Borders and I then approached the sheet from the south along the fence line of the well site. The wind was blowing in that direction, and I was attempting to determine if I could detect the smell of decomposition. Upon reaching a closer proximity to the sheet, I was able to determine that it was not as large as it had appeared on the video screen of the drone controller, and most likely did not have any objects underneath it. I noted that the sheet appeared to be a fitted sheet of the same printed pattern as a flat sheet located in the kitchen trash can during a search of Chris Watts' residence earlier in the day. I also noted 2 black lawn and leaf garbage bags with red drawstrings in the brush near the sheet that appeared to have been left there recently. I requested CBI crime scene analyst Dave Yoakum, who assisted in the previous search of the residence, provide me with a copy of the photographs of the sheet located in the trash can. CSA Yoakum provided me with those photographs via email, and I compared the sheet in the photograph to the sheet on the ground of the well site and determined that they had the same printed pattern. I then physically checked the sheet and determined that there was nothing underneath. There were dirt stains on the sheet, including a large area of dirt stain with patterns that appeared to be from the sheet being dragged along the ground. Photographs were taken of the sheet on the ground and of the stains on the sheet with my cellular phone. Copies of the photographs are attached to this report. I also checked the garbage bags and found that neither bag had anything in them. CSA Yoakum was requested to respond to assist in processing the scene. It was determined that a search warrant would be sought for the property. When advised that additional personnel would be responding to the scene, Luke decided to shut down the well and vent the holding tanks for safety. CSA Yoakum and CSA Caitlin Schroeder responded to process the scene. While waiting for the search warrant to be obtained, I was advised by CBI agent in charge Kirby Lewis that Chris Watts had confessed to dumping the bodies of his wife, Shanann Watts, and his children, Bella Watts and Celeste Watts, at the well site. The coroner was then requested to respond. AIC Lewis also advised me that Chris stated he left some of the girls' clothing and some toys wrapped in the sheet that we had located. Commander Borders and Detective DeWitt again deployed the drone to search the well site for these items before the sun set and it became dark. A thorough search of the area was conducted, but no items were located. I later received information from AIC Lewis that Chris Watts had marked a copy of the photograph of the area previously taken by the drone with the locations of the bodies. Chris indicated that Shanann was buried in the area of disturbed dirt we had previously located, and that Bella and Celeste were each in separate oil tanks. I was provided with a copy of the photograph marked by Chris and observed an S indicating Shanann on the area of disturbed dirt, and a B indicating Bella on the west oil holding tank, and a C indicating Celeste on the east oil holding tank. After the search warrant was secured, CSA Yoakum and CSA Schroeder documented the scene with digital photographs and measurements. They collected the sheet, black trash bags, a rake head that was found stuck in the ground on the north edge of the disturbed dirt, and a wooden handle apparently belonging to the rake head that was found in the brush to the east of the area of disturbed dirt. Luke, CSA Yoakum, and I climbed the stairs to the top of the oil holding tanks. Due to the dangerous conditions associated with opening the tanks, Luke was required to complete additional paperwork and accompany us with a gas monitoring device. I was only allowed to use an intrinsically safe flashlight to peer into the holding tanks to attempt to observe anything inside of them. I was unable to observe any objects in the tanks, and noted that my vision inside the tanks was obstructed by visible gas fumes. I noted that the only openings on the top of the tanks, and therefore the only access available to Chris to place the bodies of Bella and Celeste into the tanks, were very small. We took photographs of the openings with tape measure across them with my cellular phone. The openings measured 8 inches across. I provided this information to investigators at the Frederick Police Department. CSA Yoakum located numerous strands of hair that appeared to be blonde in color stuck to the rim of the opening of the east holding tank. The hair was photographed using Yoakum's cellular phone. In parentheses, he was unable to utilize his SLR camera and flash due to the danger of the flash igniting fumes, end parentheses, and collected the hair as evidence. Arrangements were made to have the oil-holding tanks drained in the morning, and arrangements were made to have overnight scene security by Frederick PD officers. Upon arrival of Weld County Coroner's Officer Investigator Joey Weiner, we began to excavate the area of disturbed dirt. Special Agents Philip Jones and Mark Lehrer of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Detective Dave Baumhover and Officer Scott Coonrod of the Frederick Police Department also arrived on scene to assist. Photographs were taken to document the process. The portion of Shanann's body closest to the surface was located approximately 3 inches below the surface. The body was lying face down in a kneeling tight position with her head facing in a westerly direction and in a declining position deeper into the ground from her lower torso. Shanann's arms were outstretched in front of her, and her feet were pulled up underneath and behind her. Shanann was exhumed from the ground and placed in a body bag. Investigator Weiner took possession of Shanann's body. I am so sorry, Shanann. See CSA Yoakum's report for additional information. End of report. Attachments: photograph of sheet found on ground, photograph of stain on sheet found on ground, photograph of sheet found in residence, photograph of opening on holding tank, copy of aerial photograph of well site marked by Chris Watts. It's really sad reading that and knowing that this monster could leave her like that, in that way, and putting his children in the tanks and the hair. It's you can't explain it, but I'm glad he is where he is. Deserves worse. So that's where we'll end that part. And I thank you as always for listening. And we do this in loving memory of Shanann and Bella and Celeste and Nico. May you forever rest in peace, and God, please bless the Rusick family. We ask you to do that. This is The Diplomat. I hope you have a great day.